Hello and welcome to week 5 of Leadership 675, Inclusive Leadership at Warburg College. In week 5, we're focused on creating a plan. So the main task for you this week is developing a plan for increasing your own cultural competency / cultural intelligence. The words are often used interchangeably, as we're going to discuss a little bit later. They do have their own individual differences. So the readings for this week, so in our Imagine Belonging text, chapters 5 and 6, and in Surrounded by Idiots, chapter 12. So we'll be finishing out Surrounded by Idiots, and then the rest of the course will be focused on finishing out Imagine Belonging. This is the week that we kind of switch from looking at ourselves and assessing ourselves and developing self-awareness around these topics, and looking to the organization as a whole and how organizations embrace or don't embrace these topics. So we have some different articles, so about imposter syndrome and how imposter syndrome limits us from growing, from making decisions, about allyship, authentic leadership. The allyship is a reading from a Belonging at Work book and really focuses on what exactly is allyship when we hear that. Strategies to increase cultural intelligence. So this is from the book Cultural Intelligence by David Livermore. There is a self-assessment that comes with the new versions of that book. So if you're interested in additional self-assessments, that book is available for purchase. This is just a listing of the different things within that book, different strategies that they recommend to improve or increase your cultural intelligence. This list is something to consider as we look at developing your cultural competency growth plan for this week. And then Nubby Sandals and Strange New Worlds, those are both thought readings from the Stories to Spark Diversity Discussions book that we've been looking at throughout the semester so far. Okay. 3 videos that we have. So 1, Hidden Truth of Human Connection, Power of Vulnerability, and then Authentic Leadership. So this discussion of authentic leadership this week and what is authentic leadership, and that one of the main facets of authentic leadership is being vulnerable in the workplace. So showing people who you really are and being aware of who you are to the point that you feel comfortable just being yourself at work, and with a accept it or not attitude that this is who I authentically am, and you either accept me or you don't. So I have this quote from Sheryl Sandberg. True leadership stems from individuality that is honestly and sometimes imperfectly expressed. Leaders should strive for authenticity over perfection. So really recognizing that as humans, we are not perfect in any definition of the word, and that really where growth happens is when we admit to that imperfectness and look for ways to improve that. We admit our mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. We're honest with ourselves and our teammates. And that is one of the cornerstones of authentic leadership. So authentic leadership really focuses on transparency and ethics. We share information, we seek feedback. And one of the main components of authentic leaders is extreme self-awareness. So authentic leaders understand who they are, their strengths, weaknesses, limitations, and they know how to complement those things with other people in their organization. So they understand what their weaknesses and limitations are, and they seek out people on their team who have high strengths where they have high weaknesses. They're not afraid to share responsibility and share information, and then that taking responsibility for mistakes. So high empathy, high emotional intelligence. High emotional intelligence has also been correlated to high cultural competency or high cultural intelligence. So the main components of authentic leadership are having a strong moral code, strong self-awareness, like I said, where we really reflect upon and understand ourselves. So you can see that everything that we've been doing for the last few weeks as we move into week 5 has been really focused on that self-awareness and reflecting and understanding self. Okay, relational transparency, that we're open with others, we admit mistakes, we have control of our emotions. But then we understand ourselves, we know what we're working towards, we have passion about what we're working towards, so we know our values, we lead with them, we know our purpose, we lead with that purpose. Okay? And that we take in feedback from all areas. We consider all options and angles, that we're listening to people who are telling us when things need to be fixed. So you see the core foundation of authentic leadership is self-awareness. So knowing yourself, being true to yourself. Okay, so things that we've been focusing on so far in this class. So then cultural intelligence is of course defined as the ability to relate and work effectively with multiple people. It requires placing the interests, feelings, and cultures of other people into context. You can see how this aligns with some of the facets that we're seeing in authentic leadership. There are 3 different components of cultural intelligence. So just knowledge, gathering knowledge of other cultures, what are norms of those cultures, what are communication styles of those cultures in order to understand team dynamics, group dynamics, individual dynamics. Okay, cross-cultural skills, so that empathy, that ability to imagine situations from other people's perspective, ability to relate to and speak with from people from multiple cultures, so not shying away from talking to people and even asking the hard questions. So being willing to ask people about their experiences and learning about what they're sharing with you. And then cultural metacognition or mindfulness, where this is really the knowledge and control over our own thinking and biases. So you can see how this fits into that self-awareness piece, that we understand our biases so well that we have control over them instead of just acting towards them. A lot of bias comes from that kind of gut reaction that we have, and that's our first desire in behavior. We want to act towards that bias. So learning how to recognize our own biases and work past them. So what cultural competence looks like at an individual level and an organizational level. As I said, this week is where we kind of shift from individual level knowledge to looking at the organization as a whole and how people all work with each other. So you can see that self-awareness of both the individual and the organization are important. So we have to conduct assessment and understand the organization, but we also want to engage in self-aware assessment and develop our own awareness. Understanding our own culture, both from an individual level and an organizational level, and then learning how to adapt. So adapt policies, structures, and services in an organization, or adapt our own behavior under that cultural context. So your main assignment for this week, in addition to your discussion post about being authentic, is your cross-cultural competence growth plan. So there is no reflection this week. It's just your discussion post and this cross-cultural competence growth plan. So utilizing information from the book, the intercultural development plan you received with your IDI results at the beginning of the semester, and your own reflections, discussions, and assessments, and then a list of that strategies to increase cultural intelligence. What you're going to do is develop a 4 to 6 page plan on how you will work to grow your cross-cultural competence. So and then what is the impact this development plan will have on both your leadership style and within your workplace. So you had, earlier in this graduate program, you learned a lot about different leadership styles and you developed your own philosophy of leadership. So now kind of reflecting on that philosophy of leadership style that you created, that leadership style that you felt you worked with, and then thinking about how does your development plan fit into that? How does your own sense of self in the first 4 weeks of this class fit into now with that philosophy of leadership you made almost a year ago as part of starting this master's program. So everyone have a great week 5. As always, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to set up Zoom meetings and answer emails. Okay, have a great week.